يا هلا وسهلا فيكم مجددا. اليوم نرحب فيكم كثير وبنرحب فيكم أكثر أكيد في ملتقى الأكاديمية المالية 2025 بنسخته الرابعة. يوم حافل وملتقى حافل بالكثير من الأجندة، بدأناه منذ اليوم في الافتتاح ومن ثم في الجلسة الحوارية الأولى وكذلك الثانية، وتنتظرنا جلسة حوارية ثالثة، وكذلك تكريم من يستحقون التكريم اليوم واللي يعتبرون عنصر نجاح بل عنصر أساسي في صناعة هذا المشهد المالي في النسخة الرابعة المميزة، والتي تحمل في طياتها المبادرات الاستراتيجية التي تم إطلاقها مع أرقى المؤسسات التدريبية في كل أنحاء العالم. استهدفت القطاع المالي، استهدفت الإعلام المالي، واستهدفت أيضاً قطاع الرياضة في تحدي الجولف. نحن الآن جاهزون لتكريم من يستحقون التكريم، وهم شركاء إعلاميون صنعوا المشهد بطريقتهم وببصمتهم، فاستحقوا الشكر والتقدير اليوم. يسعدنا ويشرفنا نرحب في هذه الأثناء بسعادة الرئيس التنفيذي للأكاديمية المالية. رحبوا معي بالأستاذ مانع آل خمسان. التكريم للشريك الإعلامي المجموعة السعودية للأبحاث والإعلام، يمثلها سعادة مدير أو الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة الحلول الإعلامية الأستاذة نداء المبارك. الشريك الإعلامي للملتقى أيضاً شركة أرقام، يمثلها الأستاذ مصطفى الصالح وهو مدير عام العلاقات العامة بشركة أرقام. شكراً لبصمتكم، شكراً لعطائكم في هذا المشهد الذي يتجدد بنسخته الرابعة. شكراً للمجموعة السعودية للأبحاث والإعلام وكذلك لشركة أرقام، والشكر أيضاً لسعادة الرئيس التنفيذي على التكريم اليوم لكل شركاء النجاح. الآن موعودون بكل تأكيد بجلسة حوارية ثالثة سنناقش فيها بعنوان رأس المال البشري في عصر الذكاء الاصطناعي. سنسلط الضوء في هذه الجلسة الحوارية على دور رؤساء الموارد البشرية في توظيف الذكاء الاصطناعي لمواءمة استراتيجيات رأس المال البشري مع أهداف النمو المؤسسي والمتطلبات التنظيمية. سنناقش أيضاً بناء منظومات موارد بشرية مرنة قائمة على البيانات وتعزيز التنافسية والاستدامة لدعم الجاهزية المستقبلية للمؤسسات المالية. لن نكتفي وسنتحدث أيضاً عن محور آخر، وهو استراتيجيات التعاقب الوظيفي وتطبيقات الذكاء الاصطناعي في استقطاب المواهب وتقييم الأداء وتخطيط القوى العاملة لضمان استمرارية القيادات. نرحب بهذه اللحظات بمن سيقود دفة هذا الحوار. رحبوا معي بالسيدة سومي أريان. كذلك نرحب بضيوف هذه الجلسة الحوارية لسعادة رئيس مجلس إدارة الجمعية السعودية للذكاء الاصطناعي والأنظمة الذكية الدكتور غالب الشمري. نرحب أيضاً بسعادة الرئيس العام للموارد البشرية في الراجح المالية الأستاذ راكان الشارخ. والترحيب بثالث ضيوف هذه الجلسة الحوارية المديرة الإدارية للشراكات العالمية في معهد سيفا السيدة دانا داي. أيضا نرحب بسعادة رئيس التعليم التنفيذي في كلية هولت أشريدج وهو السيد آدم بهذه اللحظات. أرحب بكم وأترك لكم الحديث والصوت الصورة. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Said. I really appreciate it. I trust you did the correct introduction. So I didn't understand. We all trust you. So, okay, show of hands before we start. I want to ask everybody a question. How many people this morning or today used ChatGPT or any other kind of AI? All right, quite a lot of people. How many people are excited about AI and its use in future of human resources? Okay, so it looks like we have got an audience that is fairly split. Some people are concerned, some people are excited, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So first things first, I'm going to ask a generic question to all of you, and you have about a minute or so to answer each of them. So the question is, what we want to know is, from your vantage point, where you are right now, do you feel AI is a positive force or a challenge when it comes to human resources? So let's start from top. Adam, what do you think?
It's great question. I think it's both an opportunity and a challenge, and there's excitement around it. I think it's also important to recognize that there's both fear and apathy amongst some people as well, and fatigue with AI. I think the technology itself is less of the challenge now. The technological capability is there for many to see. The real way is to how do we align it with a specific business need and align that to KPIs, as we've always done for the last 50, 100, 200 years. And if you think about how we bring that to life, it's less about the technology and it's more about the leader itself. Mm-hmm. So if you think about the best leaders that you've worked for, they balance technology with the understanding of a human being. And that's both intellect, but it's in here with your heart, and also your stomach. And AI will never replace that. We are all different in this room and across the world. And increasingly, as we work mixed cultural teams, particularly in the kingdom, as we both promote Saudis and embrace that excellent talent, but bring people in from all over the world, we need to mix that head, heart, and talent. So within the kingdom, I see three things really. One, in terms of we can use AI with that big opportunity to get more speed, so we can act faster by using the insight that it gives us. The second thing, we can be more inclusive, overcome our bias and look at hiring and promotions more objectively. And the third thing is, in terms of the productivity, we can use it to outsource things and focus on the real value drivers where we add. And the overall feeling for the kingdom is therefore well-being and sustaining high performance.
100%. Dana, what do you think? What's your thoughts on this?
AI is overwhelmingly positive for me.
Okay.
I think, I'll say something maybe bold to start off. I have inspiration from some friends in the room. If you're not using AI already, you're behind the curve. And I think it's a tool that will allow you to expand your knowledge, your remit, your life, everything about what you do and who you are, you can augment and accelerate with AI. And I think that has absolute impact, positive impact for financial services and for an economy and a society and a community that is trying to create change and empowerment. And that's powerful.
That's really positive to hear. What's your thoughts, Rakan? I'm hoping some people are going to disagree, but you also love AI?
So, yeah, I do.
Okay.
Actually, 6 months ago, I was a different person when it comes to AI. AI to me was like toys, you know. I'm using these applications to replace faces and looking at the fun side of it. But actually, I started investing personally in understanding AI and its application. And perhaps the elephant in the room when it comes to AI and HR is, will AI replace people? But my answer to that is, if we looked at the history, of technology development, at many points of time, there was a point we were saying that this technology will replace people. But instead, it did replace people's jobs, but yet new jobs has been created. We haven't seen people stopped working since the early introduction of technology, and the point that we've said that this technology is coming to replace people. For example, using robotics in manufacturing. It created a new job where people need to supervise and develop these robotics and whatsoever. We have an important role as HR leaders, is to ensure that we reskill our workforce rapidly and empower them, to understand these technologies and using it as an enabler rather than a replacing factor. That's my answer.
That's great. That's great to hear. Dr. Ghalib, what do you think?
First things, thank you for introduction. Let me emphasize a key point, which is AI doesn't taking people jobs, and doesn't replace people. It's fact. So AI will be only redesign, reshaping skills, tasks, required capabilities for any job description. This will create a new opportunity, such as open new jobs. Let me give you a clear example about that. Before 5 years, did you hearing about title jobs which call prompting engineering? Of course not. Okay. Also, any jobs title related to rules of large language model? It's not. So the main focus should be in the role of redesigning, reshaping, upscaling, human thoughts offset also. So in finance, regarding to your question also, in finance, it will be improve the forecasting, for example, improve the talent decisions, skills, and so on.
Absolutely. Adam, so you do a lot of executive education. So when you're working with leaders, how do you help them integrate AI into leadership programs to ensure sustainable capability building? What does that even mean, sustainable capability building? How do you describe that?
Thank you for asking the question. It's probably the most frequent question I get asked when I travel and sort of asking about AI and actual application, and then make it sticky. That sticky learning accent. So I think my view, and hopefully many people would agree, the best kind of whatever you're learning is immersive and experiential. So let's use an example. So if you want to learn a language, what's the best way to go and do it? Normally go and live in another country, immerse yourself, meet friends, go to the railway station, order food. But how do we create that in real time? So our parent company of Hult Ashridge is EF Education First. Many people will know them. And they have a division that brings AI to life. So they recreate both in schools and for business using AI. So you're talking to an agent in real time on learning a language. You become braver, bolder, can use those things. So how do we use it for executive education? Well, let's take an example. How do you have difficult conversations is one of the key themes as leaders we need to learn. But how do you create that? So Sumi, if you and I were replaying a role play and we get taught how to do the skills and then go away and do it, we might do it once or twice because we're self-conscious and biased, etc. But if we're doing it with an AI agent, we found from our research that you can do it on average 6.5 times. So you might practice different styles, you get real feedback in real time from the data, and particularly when you're building mixed cultural teams, we can replay and program that agent to say, be difficult, be awkward. Now do it in a Saudi culture. Now do it in this role. Now do it as a male or female. So AI can bring that to life in a way that the human can't. So we can enable it to get sticky that way.
Very interesting. Speaking of different cultures, Dana, from CFA Institute's experience, how can international partnerships accelerate AI adoption in HR development?
I think that's, I'm sitting here because of that very thing. So piloting, testing, trying, learning, failing, and then learning from that and trying again is really valuable. And so one of the things we think a lot about is how can we create little systems little partnerships, little pilot programs, where we work really closely with change makers. And when we work with those change makers, and many of them are in the room today, we work with change makers and we say, wow, that worked, that didn't. AI allows us to flex and to learn and to grow and to process that information so much more quickly. So are we having the impact together that we seek?
Yeah.
If we are, great, we keep going and we expand. If we're not, we can then use AI around some of the data that we've gathered to make some changes. And that's really important. And that's one of the ways that at the Institute, at least, we're starting to test that.
100%. Rakan, have you already seen people using AI tools to improve operations and have a better HR development? Have you already seen that happening?
Okay, so perhaps a classic example would be, or the early adoption of AI was in recruitment. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of off-the-shelf systems and companies providing these services of shortlisting and screening, and perhaps this is the most classical example out there. Also, we have seen it in learning and development. We're based, on input from performance management, from competency gap analysis, and whatso. It could develop customized learning plans based on individual, competencies and needs. And that's really a great example because usually, and I'm talking again from practical experience, developing these learning and development plans each year is time-consuming exercise. So this cuts the time extremely short. Actually, perhaps in Arachi Capital, me and a colleague of mine who's leading the rewards and OD, we started experimenting with using instance of AI in the organization development side, where it helped a lot in writing job descriptions, mapping these job descriptions to competency framework, and also starting to adapt in it and learning, teaching the model to use the job evaluation methodology. All of these were time-consuming, let's say, important tasks, but again, it was time-consuming. And now with AI, it's really a great tool for enhancing productivity, let's say. I haven't seen, honestly, any, let's say, off-the-shelf solution so far that has been developed as a total HR solution, but also we've seen it replacing or doing a lot of activities related to the HR business partnership and employee relation part, where it answers employee inquiries, provide information on behalf, of that direct individual interaction, which is again a great application, and it's being practiced, let's say, in human resources at this stage.
Super interesting. So there's a billion-dollar HR startup idea, right? For somebody to create something like that. Yeah,
absolutely.
That sounds like it. So, Dr. Ghalib, what new AI applications are you seeing in Saudi Arabia in particular right now to build future-ready human capital?
Great question. So, in my belief, Saudi organization should use AI techniques to build future-ready talent that align with Saudi Vision 2030, and to keep with the good tracking with another organization, such as using predictive analytic system that can be determine the skills gap and mobility, or also using an adaptive learning system that can be improve team skills in organization. Another thing, sometimes using AI system that can be rank candidate and build also standard assessment criteria for organization, either for employee or projects or procedures in organization. Also, the important things, it will be about the ethical issue and AI governance including data privacy, bias testing, and so on, that can be sustained, complements, trust, and so on.
Great. So, Adam, when it comes to getting leaders excited about AI and then getting them to excite the people that they lead excited about AI, do you ever come across the challenge that the leader himself is not super excited about it, and you need to first, work on actually getting them integrate before they can lead other people? And how do you manage that when you come to these kinds of situations?
Again, great question. I think rather than excitement, it might be fear, and naming it fear, that they don't know what's there and they don't want to make a fool of themselves. Now, as leaders, our job is to step out of our comfort zone and to go and embrace and have a spirit of curiosity. I think one of the other panelists mentioned this earlier. So that curiosity to go and find out how we can use the tools, how we can develop ourselves, and how we develop the organization. So going back to a classical leadership framework of leading self, leading others, leading the business.
Yeah.
So we come back to that point. So there's a curiosity. As a leader, you have to be authentic, but you have to use the tools yourself. There is no way you can say to an organization or your team, go do this, if you haven't tried it yourself. And there are some amazing tools out there. So to embrace that quickly, you need to be authentic on that sort of thing and the curiosity. For the business, I talked earlier in terms of how to align that, and that's the same for a society. In terms of we think of Vision 2030 and the role AI will play in that, and the ambitious targets, we need to align that to the KPIs of Vision 2030 in that piece. But I think the most interesting thing is the team. You touched on it there. How do you get the team excited about it? How do you get them motivated about it? And this comes back to not everybody's excited about AI. They are fearful. Yeah. And our role as leaders is to help people with uncertainty. It's as simple as that. So we need to build their confidence, give them a safe zone to develop. We also need to, alongside that, give them an ethical view that this isn't just technology or business. They need to stay true to themselves and true to the heart of the business or society that's going on there. So the role of an AI ethicist, if that's a real word, is a really important thing that we need to have in that safe zone to enable people to develop. But curiosity and using it yourself is the role of the leader to be able to be authentic.
Yeah, so it's not a case of do as I say, not...
Doesn't work with anything else, so it won't work with AI.
Very, very true. Dana, so, having worked with a lot of international organizations, what are some of the challenges you have seen big companies, big organizations, when they're trying to integrate AI, and what can we do, what can we learn from that experience that we can apply to Saudi here?
I think there are two big things. I think focus and concerted effort, right? So one of the things that's happening here in Saudi with the Financial Academy is that the Financial Academy has done something quite brilliant in that they have decided to focus and make a very concerted effort to really innovate and empower. And that's powerful. Because what I see, I sit on this panel in many countries around the world, as I know my colleagues do as well. And what I see all the time is, I want to do everything all at once. And that is the worst possible approach. I think focus and really make a concerted effort. And I see success in companies who it comes from the top, and the leadership says, this is where we're going to go. This is how we're going to embrace AI. We don't have all the answers. We have lots of questions, but they embrace that question and then bring the organization with them on the journey. That's where I see success.
Very good. Okay, and Rakan, what internal obstacles have you faced? I don't know if you can share that with us when integrating AI into human resources, and how did you address them so far?
So, I wouldn't say obstacles. I would say it's more of or challenges. It's the early adoption of the technology. I think AI in different areas is still too early to have enough case study to say what works or what not. Also, the governance around it, like Adam mentioned, is really important, but especially when we talk about the financial sector. It's funny that 12 years ago, I was sitting in one of the forums, and the topic was about the adoption of cloud computing. And now we're here talking about the same thing in AI. Yeah. Everyone is not understanding where the data goes. I'm just going to put something in the cloud and a dark force will access it, and all of these myths around it. I think this is where we are really today when it comes to AI. We're waiting for the governance, we're waiting for, let's say, the adoption, companies providing solutions, secure solutions. Because again, and perhaps the doctor could support me or second me on that, AI is not like normal systems. It has a code that you will put an input, you will immediately get an exact output. Even, let's say, if the developers of AI, excessive fear is that when something goes wrong, it's not easy to know where in the code. It's not like just a code that you're going to get through and understand what went wrong. You will be able to evaluate the output. Based on the output of something wrong, you're going to reevaluate the input itself. So it's as good as you train it and develop it and feed it. So I see it a great opportunity. We're just still in the early stages of adoption and understanding, but the rapid change in different industries, like multimedia, like media, like the film even industry, we've seen great results, and we're just, let's say, waiting for what's next in the other sectors.
Amazing. So, Dr. Ghalib, let's talk a little bit about regulation and regulatory issues and ethical challenges when deploying AI for human resources. How do we overcome this? Because obviously, I mean, in Saudi Arabia, regulatory reforms have been incredible and regulation has been always ahead of the curve. But in general, how do you see the challenges from that perspective and ethical aspects of it?
Okay, it's normal because people usually worry about the new technology. So using AI techniques in any area, such as human resources and so on, it will bring really challenges. In data privacy, for example, there is a lot of issue about this area. How to dealing with data, what kind of data I used, what kind of attributes allowed to use also, and how to sharing data and so on. Also in AI model itself, there is data using in this model. What kind of data allowed to use it? Do you need to encrypt some data, normalization data in this model? Also, what kind of methodology can be trained data? Okay. Also, what type of algorithm we used in this model? Because some algorithm, it's learning by itself. So these types of algorithm should have a framework, should governance for that. In Saudi Arabia, alhamdulillah, we have established a good, strong progress, such as we have AI, standard AI governance, and also data governance regulation leads by Sadaya. In addition, we have also some rules about how to sharing data with other organizations. There is a platform supported by Sadaya to control sharing data with other organizations over the government side. Also, we have personal data protection law. All of these controls can be reduce risks and also improve the protect privacy, improve transparency, trust when using AI models.
Very helpful. Thank you so much, Dr. Ghalib. Adam, I'm going to use a term that was very fashionable a few years ago, big data. Remember, like Soomi, just like the cloud computing, it was a very fashionable word. How can executive learning leverage big data to personalize leadership, development at a scale. Can we scale this?
Yep. Really pleased to use the word personalized. I was going to use customized.
Yes.
So customized data on our people, not about big data itself. Data itself is useless. Data applied to your people, their development, and your business or society is what counts. So if I can use an example, so many of you will know EY, the professional services firm. They have 400,000 people globally across lots of different roles, tax, audit, consulting, etc. And they're literally from Australia to West Coast US. So we partner with them to deliver a customized MBA for them. So they've got 400,000 people. How do they track? How do those people perform? So by using their own systems, and those of you who have done MBAs, you have to do 80% the core finance operations, but the 20% around the edges, they can customize their own electives to do what they want. So you can have a range of different electives there. So let's play this forward. Partnering, for example, with the Financial Academy in Saudi Arabia, you then look at society to seeing what are those 20% of electives that skills are needed specific industry, for finance, for example, and how can we upskill your people in that way by giving them tailored information? And the data, the customized data pieces, how do they respond compared to their peers? How do they perform? And the return on investment through the EY case study is fascinating, that people who go through these programs have tailored learning with data feedback perform twice as well as their colleagues. Their engagement is much higher. Their retention is 7% higher. Their attrition is 30% down. So in an organization like that, when you're talking about how do you engage people with AI, you can use the data to, again, come over those unconscious bias and find out who are your true star performers. Who do you hire in an inclusive way, and who do you promote in an inclusive way? And likewise, who are the people who maybe aren't on the right path but maybe think they are, and course correct that. So I think customized data is the approach rather than big data in L&D.
Very good. Staying on that topic of data, Dana, what role do data standards and global benchmarks play in creating AI-enabled HR ecosystems?
Yeah, they're incredibly important, and we're seeing that start to develop in a lot of different places. So data and good data analysis, ethical data analysis, actually allows us to become much more efficient in terms of how we disseminate regulations and standards that can be adhered to in a practical way. Right? So one of the challenges always faced by any industry, in the financial services and investment industry in particular, is how do we regulate effectively, but how do we also empower businesses to function and operate? Data and AI allows us to find the spots in that conversation where we can have much more impact. And we can have that impact not in a single market, but globally. And the other thing that happens is because that AI allows us to understand nuances and customization opportunities, we can be globally consistent with regional nuance. Yeah. And that is where magic starts to happen in a global scale.
Amazing. Rakan, how are you using, or how are you seeing companies using AI-powered analytics to identify and develop talent?
So perhaps I briefly spoke about it. It's mainly in the part related to competencies, performance management, and creating, career path and personalized, let's say, career development plan. The great thing with the power of AI is, again, with all of this information, you used to need or to have a human or a specialist or a consultant sitting in one place, gathering all of this information and trying, to come up with a plan. With the AI, this is just becoming extremely instant. So the research area, I would call this anything with data involved, turning this into information, I would call it more of a research. The research part is the massive application of AI and human resources that I'm seeing trending so far. Even in industries, but again, it needs to be well governed. We cannot just depend at this stage, let's say 100% on the output without proper, let's say, reviews and whatsoever. Actually, it's funny that yesterday I just was looking through the LinkedIn. There was a news about a big research company that was refunded a bank some quite good amount just for a report that was generated through AI with false data.
Wow.
So this is really an example of what I was saying, that it's too early to just say we can blindly adopt this technology without looking at much of case studies and what's so. But then again, looking at the bright side, an example like this would give us another learning point that yes, we need to have kind of an auditing part or kind of a review part for these generated reports and kind of sense check into it before it goes out. Yes, perhaps it did reduce the time of developing the report, but again, it resulted even in reputation risk or other misleading factors, let's say. So the other bit is having, leaders always would require dashboards, information, kind of turnover and what's so. Creating dashboards through AI and using the employee data is really a trending and very important part of applying AI in human resources. So it's not only the front end or interaction part with the employees, it's the back end and the research and the information that HR can generate to take the proper decisions and support the organization strategic direction when it comes to people.
Fascinating.
Can I build on
yes,
that?
Yeah,
Sorry,
sure. Yeah.
I think you've just said something, this news article this morning was really powerful message, right?
Yeah,
so if you haven't seen the news, check the news.
That.
But I would love, how tempting would it be to send two executives, AI executives, into a room and just have a meeting with each other? I think that would be extraordinary. I wonder if they would ever be able to tell. Obviously, I say that in jest, but I sometimes think about the number of meetings that all of us do on a day-to-day basis. What if we sent our AIs in to do it on our behalf?
I would love that.
What would the outcome be? And I think that's an interesting philosophical question.
But we will still be interested in the minutes and what happened in the meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would take the minute anytime instead of staying there for 2 hours. Dr. Ghalib, let's talk about succession planning. How can we use data-driven approaches, which is supported by AI, to improve succession planning?
Yes, of course. We can use AI techniques based on skills first. For example, to identify the future skills for organization needs. Also, we can reduce the talent gaps by analyzing the risk, build program that focus on the development of employees, or especially as Rakan mentioned, for leadership to be improve the top level in organization. All of these approach can be saving cost, time, and also make sure the continuous of businesses and leadership.
Amazing. I want to make sure we have some time for audience interaction, because as we saw in the beginning, half of the people in the room were not very excited about AI. So let's get them excited and let's see if we manage to change their minds, right? So please prepare your questions. We're going to come to the audience, and I'm sure that there will be a mic or something to get your questions. But as you prepare, I'm going to ask you guys one more question, rapid fire. Looking ahead, how do you envision AI transforming human capital, specifically in the financial sector in Saudi Arabia, over the next 5 to 10 years? So, Adam, quick one.
Yeah, I think it's about looking at the ethical side of things and the regulation and the uncertainty. So giving it an opportunity, but still the role of the human leader to both police that to an extent, as you were saying, AI to AI, where's this going? And particularly in the financial markets and the way Saudi becomes more of a global financial institution and marketplace. I think it's that regulation with a human touch, but taking out the pain of the admin is the real thing. So it's emboldening a leader to really sort of embrace it, but trust your human instinct, goes back to that gut and heart and of making sure things are right and proper and the integrity is there.
100%. Dana, yes.
Yeah, very simply, further and faster as long as we work together and it's underpinned by ethics, no exception. We will go further and faster here.
Absolutely. Rakan.
I think there are two parts of this question, or the answer, sorry. So changing the HR operating model itself, again, because of cloud computing, today the IT module in most of companies have changed from having a total built-in IT into kind of managed service IT. I would see the same thing in HR, having less headcount in HR operations, more of HR managers, strategic HR managers that are managing multiple, let's say, tasks. And for the business, this means less time to hire, better insights on people, instant insights on people, and predictive analysis. So today with AI, looking at trend of turnover and what so, you can predict, where the next resignation will come from a certain department, as so. So the HR operating model in the next few years will change as we know it today.
100%. Dr. Ghalib.
I'm sure AI technology will shift Saudi finance to talent model that's depending on skills first, using any techniques, adaptive learning platform, forecasting, and so on. So implement AI techniques as soon as possible, not today, should be yesterday.
Very interesting. So as you see, we are all AI positive here. So I would love to hear some questions, maybe, over here. So we have a question if we have the microphone. Thank you so much. I think maybe it's not on. Can you please help?
Am I coming through okay?
Oh, perfect, yes.
Great. First of all, I do agree with Mr. Rakan. I think it's too early to adopt this technology, especially in human resource. I do apply for jobs, and the interview was with an AI solution. So I think it's like an equation. If you respond like that, you're gonna get 1, or if not 0, and you will pass or failure in the interview. So the AI model doesn't understand the human. So he mentioned that before 12 years they've been discussing about the cloud computing. So if we not act now and adopt this solution, it will be too late. That's my question. I hope it's clear.
So will it be too late, Rakan, if we don't?
Well, it's never too late. At some point of time, you will be able to catch up. But it's very important, and perhaps most of the audience I'm seeing, they are in kind of the younger side of age. It's very, very, very important that we continue learning about everything, learning about the technology. 20 years ago, I didn't have the luxury, me personally, I'm not that old also, to just open my mobile, ask a question, and get an answer. I'm talking 20 years ago. It's not that far. Yeah. So we have to continue to learn about it. For example, I learned something about this case study. Like, for example, if I receive a report or I ask an AI today for a report, I will validate the sources that was mentioned and cited and what so. So we have to start now to be able to be ready in the future and be part, as young Saudis, in the development of this technology that will give us the benefit that we want to achieve, or our goals, let's say, from adapting this technology. That will be my answer to
May I add to that?
Yes, please.
I think there's an opportunity here to peel the layers of the youngin, to get back into really fundamental understanding of some of the drivers of what's happening, right? Don't necessarily learn all the AI tools and the technology. I mean, there's an app for that. Really what we need to learn is how is AI evolving? How is the usage of AI evolving? And how can we as humans shape that and understand our role in that? And that's where the learning needs to happen, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Can I just build on that as well? They're both excellent points and a really good question. I think the touch about the demographic and how you learn about AI, I'm a little bit older than my kids, who are teenagers, but in terms of how they learn and what they bring to the workplace, they will become native AI workers in the office. We can learn from them. So if you go back to the concept of sort of reverse mentoring, these youngsters coming into the organization have so much to offer and will do things naturally. If you think about digital natives going back 15, 20 years, when they come into the workplace, they're so much more advanced than leaders. So we need to learn and be humble and hungry to learn from them as well. So I think that's a really important thing, bringing the next generation through and being open-minded that we don't have all the answers, let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of us in this room are probably millennials and Gen Z and maybe a few Gen Xers. And I wonder, on a generational level, it's also, somebody mentioned, I think it was the gentleman from Taonia, that sometimes you're leading people that are much younger or much older, and you have to get them excited about this. So definitely there is that angle as well. Dr. Ghalib, you wanted to add something?
No, I haven't any comments, but he mentioned about the system, AI system. It's so two options, yes or no, or AI model. Doesn't like that because I'm technical. It's AI model, really AI model. It's learning by itself, so can be understanding the human. Now AI model in this stage, in some area, it's perfect more than the human. So we can implement it, especially in finance. We can get the good result in HR. We can automate all the procedures in any kind of sector. So we can implement it in perfect way. But the important things, it will be about the ethical issue and the governance, the framework for implementing AI techniques only.
Thank you so much. We are coming towards the end of the session. Any other questions? Throw some difficult questions at us, yes. Make it exciting.
So, first of all, thank you so much for this impressive way of thinking of being indispensable as humans in this AI era. Just looking from the experts, especially Adam and Rakan, on how we can be more utilizing these AI tools and still continue as indispensable humans, where we see how massive ChatGPT is being used. This is question one. Question two, if you allow me, ethical use of ChatGPT in banks. That's why I was asking Mr. Khan, in banks like Rajhi or the subsidiary as Rajhi Capital. We see ISO 42000, I think something around that, for ethical use of AI, right? How we can impose that? What is the regulators' rules to do that, especially with CFA, with Dana? Thank you so much.
Very good question. So who wants to take it first? You want to go, Dana?
Sure, I'll start from the end and work backwards. In terms of, I like your question about that standard, right? How do we impose that standard? I think the really important concept here is we have to think about these things in a principles-based setting. If we make rules, AI evolves far too quickly and humans are far too smart, frankly, for rules. That's not how we work anymore, I think, arguably. Really, it's about setting principles of practice, principles of implementation, and then each team, even at that granular of level within the organization, needs to understand those principles and how they apply to them, and then apply that consistently across the organization, but from a principle standpoint. And I see a lot of organizations struggling with this very question, and I'm seeing two speeds of forward motion. One is the principles, one is rules, and I'll tell you the principles are adapting to change much more quickly.
Very good.
I would just like to add, Dana, if you don't mind. Perhaps the gentleman asked a very good question about the internal adoption of AI within organizations. So the way we've done it, we have to understand something. There are two types of AI. You have the open AI, which is the ChatGPT, for example, and Mr. Al could correct me about this. And there is a way of having a closed instance of AI, and this is the ones that are being used. So you will have the program, it's not open to learn from external information like the internet and whatsoever. It will be learning based on the data that you are feeding. A simple example, you can have that closed instant of AI, feed it with HR policies, and start asking questions about policies, and it will interact with you in that framework. If there is something that it's not fed into it, it will not be able to answer and could return, either a ticket, raise a ticket that this question has been asked or whatsoever. This is the instance or an example of what I'm saying, that we could start experimenting with AI within the organizations in that safe environment and whatsoever. And we have a great IT team and innovation team that they're creating these instances for experimenting in a safe zone within the closed environment of data protection and within the bank information. I hope I answered that part.
Just to chime in on that. If you look at the headline, it's human capital in the AI era. It isn't AI first, it's about human beings. Each one of us is one of the most incredible, complex machine that has ever been developed. So I'd go back to the other way. How do you stand out rather than relying on the AI? How as a human being do you stand out? And whether it's in work or society, in personal lives, it's the ability to build those relationships and do it authentically. So how does the authentic version of me communicate with somebody else without having to rely on data that's in the internet somewhere to feed that? And that goes back to core skills as a leader, understanding what makes somebody else tick and motivating them to go that extra mile for you or for the business or for society. So let's not forget it's about human rather than all about AI.
I love that, Adam, that you mentioned that, because if you think about, over the past 20 years, we've been talking about the internet, humans in the era of internet, right? Social media, cloud computing, big data. It's always been about us in, within that technology. So that's such an important point.
As Rakan mentioned, there are technologies that can be learning from special resources for large language model, which called RAG, R-A-G. This model can be learned from specific resources that can be safe, the ethical issues, data privacy, and so on. So also I invite all of you for the public training course. It will be provided by Saudi Society for AI and Intelligence System at the end of October. It's public and for free about RAG technology. So do not miss this training course.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ghalib. That's great to know. Okay, I think we are almost out of time. I'm going to ask everybody to just give me a one-liner, your key takeaway from today's conversation. Dr. Ghalib, we are going to go with you this time.
Be careful with AI governance. We need a really strong framework for building AI models.
Wonderful. Rakan, what's your one-line takeaway from today?
I'm going to say again, I call it learning bites. Learn about it, learn about it, learn about it. There are great YouTube videos that you could get into it. 1-2 minutes, it's going to teach you a lot about AI for adoption and understanding.
Thank you, Dana.
I have 2 words: personalized scalability.
Yes.
That's amazing when you think about it. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'd say let's all embolden our leaders to both embrace AI, but remember the importance of human-centered leadership. That's not going away.
Wonderful. Amazing takeaways. I really hope that you all enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that we converted a few people by the end of this, and you're going to go out of this session more excited about AI than when you entered it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.